Grace here. I'm going to be showing you the deadlift today and some variations that can work for pregnancy. So I've chosen to use some water jugs today. The reason I chose this is it's very functional for pregnant women. Maybe someone who's pregnant might not always want to work with kettlebells or barbells, traditional gym equipment. However, likely they will be picking objects up, grocery bags, water jugs, and carrying it places. So this definitely carries over. So the first variation I'm going to show you is the classic deadlift, and I'm going to use 2 water jugs for this. To set up, I'm going to put my feet pretty much right underneath my hips, and with all of the variations today, we're going to start that movement sending our butt back, all right? So I want my water jugs slightly in front of me. Like I said, feet somewhere underneath the hips. I'm going to send my hips back, reaching down. I'm going to grab these handles and stand on up. So you can do a couple reps, tap the bottom of the ground and stand back up. And to show your front view, now a slightly different variation that we could do with the same stance would be a 1-arm deadlift. So for this one, we're only going to use one of the water bottles. Same, sending the hips back, reaching down, tapping the ground, and standing on up. And to show from a side view, now as you can see, I am currently about, I think, 7 months along. So I've got this big belly, baby, and it kind of gets in the way here. So here are some variations you can use to switch it up. The first one is you can elevate your deadlift. So I'm going to use some of my son's stools here, but you can use boxes, you can use plates, you can use books, anything that is stable. You want to make sure it's not something that's going to fall over. And what this is going to do is it's going to raise your objects up a little bit. That way, my range of motion doesn't have to be as far to get down to reach my objects. So from a side view, I only have to go about this far. You can see I still got plenty of room for my belly here. So same stance, feet somewhere underneath the hips. I'm going to send my hips back till I reach down, grab my water jugs, and stand on up. Shorter range of motion, but the motion is pretty much the same. So I'll show you a side view. Send the hips back and stand on up. Okay, so one other variation that we can make is the 1 arm with the elevated. So you would just have 1 arm free, stand on up, and a front view. Okay, so another variation that you can use to help, especially once we get into 2nd, 3rd trimester, once the baby really starts growing and we've got that belly, we can do what's called a sumo deadlift. So for a sumo deadlift, we're gonna open up the feet a little bit, and they're gonna be typically somewhere outside of the shoulders. You can play around with how deep or narrow you want that to go. You can do this with, I have my 2 water jugs. Again, it's going to start at the exact same way. So we send our hips back until we reach down, grab those water jugs, and stand on up. And then I've got plenty of space for the baby. And from a side view, I'll start from the top. So I've got that wider stance. I'm going to send my hips back. We are bending the knees here, grabbing onto my water jugs and standing up. Now the other thing that we can do, kind of like the 2-hand, 1-hand one hand deadlift is we can use just one water jug. Again, we've got that wider stance. You can grab it with two hands or one hand and go ahead and stand it on up. The other thing I actually really love about using water jugs is you can fill them up and they will be at their heaviest, or you can actually empty some of it out, make sure you tape the cap, and that way you have a little bit lighter weight to deadlift. So those are some ideas of different variations of the deadlift that you can use for pregnancy.